And Saadi Gaddafi's bodyguard Gary Peters joined me earlier from Toronto in Canada. Gary Peters, thanks for being there. How did you meet Saadi Gaddafi?
I met him in 2002 in Sydney, and then I met him again when he came to Canada in 2000 and I'm going to guess probably 2004 when he came back here. And he employed a company for security, and I happened to be part of that company's security team. So we realigned, so to speak, at that time. And I've been working for him ever since.
What were your first impressions of Saadi Gaddafi?
When I first met him, he was very quiet, like he always is when he meets people, until he gets to know you. But I always found him to be polite, very outgoing, very sociable. And then when you get to know him, when he gets to know you, a bit more outgoing, friendly, humorous, just a typical male. Yeah.
Would you call him a friend?
Yes, I would.
Did you also work for other members of the Gaddafi family?
I can't answer that right now because of current events that are going on with Saif and Hannibal and Alicia, so I can't answer that right now.
Did you meet Muammar Gaddafi?
Yes.
What did you think of him?
I found the man very... he was intimidating in the sense of his thoughts of outsiders. Very outright, very he knew what he wants, and he got what he wanted. Everybody bowed down to whatever he wanted. So it's a very intimidating atmosphere when you're around him.
At what point were you recruited to help Saadi Gaddafi escape Libya?
That was in the making for a long, long time. It was just a chance buy, and my involvement was logistics only, basically, to help things go along.
What exactly did Saadi Gaddafi ask of you?
Nothing was asked of me from Saadi Gaddafi. My concern, it always is with all my clients, is their safety, their well-being, their rite of passage, how they're going to get there. The secondary is their families. The third is their associates. Beginning of 2011, I instigated or tried to begin a process of getting him or extracting him from Libya to a different destination. That was in 2011. Why? Because of how I knew how he felt about Libya, how I knew how he felt about the circumstances there, how I knew how he felt about his family, and then my thoughts and my feelings on his safety. Not willing to lose a friend, not willing to lose a client, and also having feelings of the same way he does about the people of Libya.
I'll just pick you up on that point about knowing what Saadi Gaddafi was feeling. Can you articulate that for us?
He wasn't happy with the situation in Libya. He wasn't happy with the situation in Benghazi in February when there was a massacre in Benghazi. He had nothing to do with that. The media is reporting that he ordered this and ordered that. That's rubbish. That's garbage. He had nothing to do with that massacre. But the things he went there because he was ordered to by his father to go and talk to the people. That's why I went there in February. But the situation in Libya, for the people, for everything that was happening, he was very distraught about that.
You talk about extracting him from Libya. What was the plan?
The plan was to get him out of Libya and his family to another destination legally, somebody that would host him, some country that would host him, and do everything legally. That was like paperwork, documentation, transportation, air transportation, property acquisition, and ongoing security, so to speak. That was the plan. Now, he never asked for this. This was done on our own bat, to be presented to him, to say, okay, boss, okay, Saadi, this is what I think should happen.
You mentioned you did this on your own bat. Which countries did you approach seeking exile for Mr. Gaddafi?
The Bahamas were approached, and Trinidad was approached. And the last one was Mexico.
So why did none of those initial plans work out?
The ones that didn't work from our end is because we couldn't obtain legal documents for travel, entry into those countries, etc., etc. That's why they didn't go through. And the Mexico jaunt or location, that was on June 16. That was when that was squashed, when we found out that it couldn't be done legally to get Saadi and his family there with documents, etc.
If we just take a step back, I understand you went to Libya in July last year on a fact-finding mission. What was your brief?
Yes, July 16. July 16 we left here. We were going to Libya in July for a fact-finding tour. The fact-finding tour was conducted because the media worldwide had reported basically one-sided. Gaddafi did this, Gaddafi did that, Gaddafi did this. There's nothing about the rebels did this or rebel did that. So we thought that we could get over there and do two things. One was to find out the other side of the story. Like what were the rebels doing? What was Gaddafi doing? Whatever. And the other side of it, from my point of view, was to try and do a threat analysis and for future employees of SNC-Lavalin to go back to their projects back in Libya so they can continue on with their projects they had there.
Now, SNC-Lavalin is a big engineering and construction firm in Canada. What are their interests in Libya?
Infrastructure, water treatment plants, sewer, jails, just construction for the government.
So they hired you to go into Libya?
Did they hire me? They didn't hire me as per se. There was no contract written up between me and that company. But yes, they financed that July trip for that purpose.
So ultimately then, how did you manage to get Saadi Gaddafi out of the country?
Can't tell you that.
Why not?
Because it's still a security issue.
Did you strike some sort of agreement with the Niger government?
No. Nope, that was, they knew we were coming, but there was no agreement made up.
This operation to move Saadi Gaddafi out of Libya, it must have been difficult.
Why? Why would it be difficult?
Well, given the country was in a kind of civil war.
No, not really. You just drive fast. Don't stop.
Were there other people involved?
Yes, there was.
Can you tell us who they were?
No, I can't tell you who they were. No.
The drama actually escalated when you got back into Libya after dropping off Saadi Gaddafi in Niger. Reports suggest you were ambushed.
Not so much an ambush. We were in they have roadblocks or road checks every so many kilometres. We were in one of those, and then some individuals came to us and attacked.
You were involved in a gun battle?
Yeah, it was a firefight. Two of us were hit, but we're both fine.
So when you left Libya, did you still have a bullet lodged in your body then?
We finished our engagement and we bugged out. We got out of there. Then we applied first aid to ourselves. The bullet I had was taken out, and the bleeding was stemmed. We then left from Tunisia, got to Frankfurt, and halfway between Frankfurt and Canada, it started bleeding on the plane. That's how it happened. There was no bullet coming back through Frankfurt. There was no bullet coming back through Canada. That was taken out and discarded back in Tunisia. However, it did bleed on the way back, and it bled a lot coming back. And my interest was to get off the plane, get in my car, and get home. Didn't happen that way. I ended up in hospital that night. That's the way that happened.
You risked your own life trying to help Saadi Gaddafi. It was a dangerous job. How much money were you paid for all that?
I can't tell you how much we were paid. I mean, that's just going to... it was a substantial amount. It was worth it, as far as I'm concerned. But the bottom line is we did it for a friend and a client that needs our support. That's really what it comes down to. But I can't tell you how much it was or who paid it.
Cynthia Varnier, or Cindy as she's also known, a Canadian national, as well as 3 other colleagues of yours, have now been arrested in Mexico on charges of human trafficking, procuring false documents, passports. Now, the Mexican authorities say they have a 5th warrant pending. Is that for you?
I don't know. They are my ex-colleagues. They're not my colleagues now. The 5th warrant, I don't know. It hasn't been issued to me. I'd like to hope not. We'll see.
Have the authorities spoken to you, Canadian or Mexican?
Yeah, both have. Both Canadian authorities and Mexican authorities have interviewed me. The Canadian authorities have investigated and found no wrongdoing. The Canadian authorities have interviewed me, and as far as I know, have found no wrongdoing. So that 5th warrant must be for somebody else.
How exactly did Mexico figure in all of this?
I don't really know. Mexico, to me, is a non-event. I don't care about Mexico. Cindy Varnier got herself in a bit of trouble. I do care about that. I was shocked to hear some of the charges. I was shocked to see some of the evidence they had. And I do feel for her. However, if you break the law in another country, you pay that price. You pay their penalties. That's the way it is.
But as I understand it, you did actually travel to Putumayo in Mexico to buy a property for Saadi Gaddafi?
Incorrect. Not right. I went down there and looked at 2 properties. No bids were made.
How did you decide to get involved in this plot to move Saadi Gaddafi out of Libya into Niger, given especially that the United Nations had imposed a travel ban on him, Interpol is after him, and prosecutors at the International Criminal Court want to speak to him too?
Has there been a charge laid?
There are international arrest warrants out for him. Interpol says he's wanted for theft of property in Libya.
These are all exaggerations. I mean, for Saadi Gaddafi to acquire property by force or by intimidation, to be honest with you, I think his name has just been tarred with the same brush that he tarred his father with. How did I move him to Niger? Niger does not abide by the United Nations no movement list. That's why we went to Niger. There was no laws broken there. Okay? He didn't cross any international airspace that could put him or us in break of the law, international. Otherwise, it would have happened by now. Just because he's in Niger down there, and he's not hiding, but just because he's down there in Niamey, the United Nations, if they really want him, or Interpol really want him, they can't get him? What garbage. Right? You're playing with toys. That's what you're really doing.
Libya's interim government wants Saadi Gaddafi to stand trial for crimes allegedly committed while he was leading the country's football federation.
Oh, really? Okay, fine. Yeah, and if he goes back to Libya and faces trial, do you think he's going to live? I don't think so. Where he is now is a good place to be. Safe is in Libya now. I think for him, and my thoughts are with him. Not a nice place to be. He did not get out when he was asked to or advised to. Saadi got out when he could do. For any Qaddafi, whether male, female, child, grandchild, to go back to Libya is a stupid thing to do, right? The rebels over the NTC, they can't even decide who's going to be their leader for whatever. This is wrong.
Does Saadi Gaddafi intend to settle in Niger?
No, he'll wait in Niger until everything's calm and collected and everything's legal, and then he'll travel again. His destination will be whatever it is, but Niger will not be his final destination.
Well, which countries will you suggest he travel to next?
Well, maybe Australia. I don't know. We'll see.
Australia, really? Are you joking?
Yes and no. Would Australia let us there? Don't know. If I return to Australia, would they arrest me? I don't know. What for? I don't know. Would they let him there? I don't know. He loves Australia. He loves Canada as well. But he can't come here. Can't come to Canada.
It's rumoured that Canadian authorities are currently seeking to deport you back to Australia.
To deport me back to Australia? Okay. I do have an interview end of this month, and the due for that interview, the reason for that interview is I have to show them why I should be still admissible in Canada, and that's fine. There's been no laws broken here or overseas, so I'll do what they want to say, or do what they want to do, and I'll say what they want to say. But speaking with law enforcement here too, and government law enforcement, they are bewildered too. I think it's just because of recent events and the worldwide and the international platform, so to speak, that is requiring this. I'll go and do it. That's fine. If that happens, it happens. I hope it doesn't, but if it does, it does.
Gary Peters, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for your time. Hope it all goes well down there in Australia for you.